Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan here, and I am joined as always with Sam Snyder from Primetime Sports Talk, who is now back in Los Angeles. So welcome home.
I'm back in LA, baby. I had some street tacos and elote last night.
There you
I'm
go.
feeling good. I'm feeling fine.
Back in Los Angeles. And we will preview the season finale for the Bengals coming up here against the Baltimore Ravens. And as we pointed out before, we've been here before. There's the Tyler Boyd picture, 4th and 12, spiking that football. So we've done this dance to them before, which is why I don't think we're going to be able to sneak up on them by any sense. But let's see. Let's see. As usual, we'll go through the what we're feeling good about, what we're not feeling good about. Sam, you want to tell them where they can find your stuff before we get started?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You. You can find me at Primetime Sports Talk. We are at Talk Primetime or primetimesportstalk.com.
All right. Well, we'll start with the bad. We'll always start with the bad. We like to end on a positive note. So I've just got a few things here. As always, the Ravens tight ends always bother me. We always struggle with them. We struggled with them the last time. Ravens are on a roll. They've definitely kind of got their act together. We're certainly not catching them in the same spirit we caught the Steelers. And then the last thing is they need this game. I mean, they need this game. So all those things I'm not feeling good about.
Yeah, very much so. And I'm right there with you. I think the Bengals fandom is divided. People want to lose to maintain draft position,
Right.
and there's other Bengal fans like myself that want to win because winning is better than losing.
Right.
But yeah, it's gonna be a tough task this time. We're not gonna sneak up on them the way we did when we sent Buffalo to the playoffs.
Right.
But it sure would be fun if Cleveland's going to be Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to
Well,
start
Pittsburgh's resting
nobody.
everybody. They already said Watt's not playing, Roethlisberger's not playing. I mean, all their key
Yeah,
people are out. So if Cleveland
Cleveland's
doesn't win the game, it's on Cleveland.
although it would be the Brownsiest thing to do to still lose that game. But
Yeah.
regardless, let's assume the Browns win.
Right.
And Indianapolis plays the Texans, and the Texans aren't good, so they're going to win that game because they need to. It would like we did in the recap the other day, it would give me great pleasure to, for the second time in 4 years, beat
Send
the
the Ravens home. Yeah.
and not only send somebody in the Colts into the playoffs, but also to send the Ravens home.
Yeah.
I would be just ecstatic.
Yeah.
Draft pick be damned. Like I said, winning is better than losing.
Right. Well, looking at the standings, I mean, and I'm concerned too. I mean, we're sitting at 5 right now. In our last video, we didn't know how the tiebreaker went out, but ESPN showed that currently we're tied with Philadelphia. Strength of schedule there. Philly would be drafting 6th, and we would be drafting 5th. So, but we could fall all the way back to 10. I mean, you've got the Lions, the Giants, the Broncos, the Panthers, all with 5 wins. So, we'd be joining that group, and I don't know how the tiebreakers fall out. I don't know. We don't know. There's different tiebreakers for different numbers of teams that are tied. People need to understand that. So if you have just 2 teams, it's head to head, and then there's a series of things. But you get to 3 teams, it's a different tiebreaker. They have different tiebreakers for all that. So
yeah, and I think it's odd because actually I think you might have had it backwards, because I think actually Philadelphia is picking ahead of us, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they've got them when ESPN put out the draft order, and obviously we'll get the definitive draft order, for the non-playoff teams at the end of the season. But when ESPN put out the draft order, they had us 5th, and they had the Eagles 6th. And I don't know what the reason was. I thought it was strength of schedule or something, but they did put out the draft order after last week's game. We're tied with the Eagles, and it'd be 5 and 6. So
okay, well, I mean, I could be completely mistaken. I think the Eagles actually are ahead of us. And it was literally like 4 percentage points on strength of schedule is what they had.
That's the other thing you have to realize is
the problem with that is these are all divisional games.
Right.
So the strength of schedule is not going to change.
Right.
If you played outside of conference, I was talking to a guy on Twitter the other day that said, I want to say he told me to watch the New Orleans game. And the winner of, if New Orleans lost, then all of a sudden our strength of schedule
Yeah,
got
well, that's the thing.
better.
That's what I was trying to say. It's kind of like it's a constantly changing thing because there's different variables in the algorithm, and
Yeah.
and so we could have a different. You could go into the game, having the easier strength of schedule and leave the game having the harder one if other teams play better and change your strength of schedule variables. So
Yeah, and it would be much more a much bigger deal if you're playing outside your conference. But at the end of the season, everybody is playing in division, so not a lot is changing. You know what I
right,
mean? We're in division,
but still, I'd
strength
rather
of
be
schedule
sitting
is
at
strength of
five.
schedule. They nobody improves or goes down because you're in division. But
Yeah,
so now we're looking at teams we played, in week 3 to
right.
see what they're going to do, to see if that just raises it 2 percentage points or whatever. It's a mystery, it
Right.
is.
No, no, like I said, it's a definite algorithm and there's different variables. But just looking at it, obviously there are, at 11 teams, you're at 11, those teams all have at least 6 wins. And we can't get to 6 wins, so we don't have to worry about them. So we could fall technically all the way back to 10. Personally, I'd like to stay at 5, but I do see a definite benefit for the mindset of this team if they could end this season on a 3-game winning streak and have this would be the most meaningful win because they caught the Steelers slumping. I mean, that was the third of 3 straight losses by the Steelers. They kind of figured it out in the second half. They were still getting killed against Indianapolis in the first half. Indianapolis screwed up and didn't close out the game. But
Yeah.
Ben had his second half, but that's it. They have just a half of football that's turned things
And
around a
Ben
little
and
bit.
Ben didn't just have a second half. Large Ben was completing some
Right, but I'm saying,
really impressive
but
passes.
it's just a half of football. So we
Yeah,
can't ignore the other 3.5 games that you watch. So
agreed.
but this is a game where we're not catching a team slumping. We're not playing Houston, who basically is a bottom feeding team. They're not a good team right now. So right now, this would be a win that would be a quality win. This is the test for me with Zach. We've talked about how he's had 2 good games in a row where the scheme's been good. To me, you want to make me more of a believer. This is the week. He put together a scheme that wins this game. That doesn't ask Brandon Allen to do too much, but that actually puts him just like you did with Ryan Finley. Listen, Ryan Finley was way out of his league. The scheme was good. That's why we beat the Steelers. If you asked Ryan Finley to throw that ball downfield, that was never going to happen.
No.
He doesn't have that skill set. So it was the scheme that won that game, and he's going to need a similar scheme for Brandon Allen if we're going to pull this game out. So
Yeah, I agree. And Brandon Allen, after his 371 and 2 touchdowns, won FedEx Air Player of the Week, which is voted on. I mean, it really means nothing, but it means a little something. I think it should.
right,
And that's great that he won it. But like we said after the close of last game,
right,
he proved that maybe he could be a viable backup.
backup, yeah.
But there's people out there that are like, Brandon Allen is amazing.
Oh,
He's gonna
I've seen some of
set
the
the world on
stupidest
fire.
posts.
And I'm like,
I
okay,
saw a
pump
post,
the
Joe.
brakes.
Joe who? We don't need
Yeah.
Joe. The team's
Yeah.
actually been playing better under Brandon Allen. We should trade Joe for draft picks and get. Yeah, and I was just like, oh my god. And I didn't have to say anything on those things. I don't chime in. This was on one of the Facebook groups, but I was sitting there just going, oh, there were enough people who basically said, shut the F up.
Right.
Trading Burrow for draft picks and making Brandon
Yeah,
Allen
and
the
and
future.
and that's what I'm saying. And also, Brandon Allen's gonna be a free agent at the end of the year. He came right out when they asked him about his future with Cincinnati and said, I would like to be here. I'd like to see this through. I like what we're doing here.
Right.
Um, and for a backup quarterback to say that, that's fairly encouraging. I mean, first of all, he recognizes that he's just a backup quarterback.
Right. That's important.
He's not trying to hit the market as a starter or win a job somewhere
Right.
or anything like that. His contract is up at the end of this year, and he said, "I would like to be back here," and I think he should be.
Well,
But I think he should be the third quarterback because I think Joe Burrow, even though he's old for a rookie and extremely talented for a rookie, I think he deserves to have a veteran on the bench
right.
behind him. We can't afford a Fitzpatrick or somebody like that.
It's too bad because if you want to talk about the perfect backup quarterback, it's Fitzpatrick
He
because he's a
would
team
be,
player.
yeah.
He absolutely, he's done nothing but supportive of Tua. Tua has commented on that. It's actually, and if you want to talk about making a good living, look at all Ryan Fitzpatrick has made a very good living being a backup. So,
Yeah,
and with the amount of years he's had.
I think the only people that make a better living doing less work is the guy that catches in the bullpen in baseball games when
No, no, the punter
pitchers are
for
warming
Buffalo.
up. That guy gets like $200,000 to catch a ball a couple of times.
No, the punter for
But
Buffalo never
in
played.
all
But,
seriousness, you go out and you get um, these names are not going to impress anybody, but you get a Nick Mullins or a Chad
mm,
Henne, or somebody like that. It's not somebody that you're trying to win games with. It's just somebody that's been around the block a few times they'll tell Burrow, look, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to throw it there, but you could.
right,
And this is what I'm seeing. And I think Joe, I don't think he needs it because Joe is really, really good. But it's always beneficial to have a mentor,
right,
behind you. It's
right.
always good to have somebody that says, even, well, I couldn't even do that in my prime. You're way better than me,
Right.
but I can see what's going on and I can tell you that. And that's going to help you.
Yeah.
So I think Joe needs a veteran behind him. And I'd be really happy to keep Brandon on staff. Um, Sorry, Finley.
Oh no, Finley. He doesn't have the skill set. He just doesn't. I mean, I know he won the Steeler game, but clearly he doesn't have the skill set. So,
Yeah, the scheme won the Steeler game.
right.
Ryan Finley didn't win the Steeler
No,
game.
no. So, but let's get to the things we're feeling good about. I've got a few. I've got that number one. We have not been laying down, which I've been really happy to see the intensity and the emotion on our team. Number two is we
Absolutely.
are on a roll. I mean, we haven't won two games in years in a row. This team looks like it's feeling good about where they're at. I also like the fact, and this is the same thing. Ravens need the game, but the Bengals know that. That makes this game even more of a piece of fruit you really want to grab, knowing that they really need it. And the last thing I feel really good about is you can score on this defense. This defense has not been impossible to score on. They've
Not at
had
all.
their spells where they are intense. They do come at you, but we can, like I said, with the right scheme, we can score on this team. So those are the
Yeah,
things I feel
I
good
couldn't
about.
agree more. I mean, the first time we faced them, they had 7 sacks.
Right.
The offensive line was, and frankly, it's mostly the same personnel, other than the fact that Jonah is hurt and Jonah's gone.
Yeah, but
It's mostly the
Spain,
same.
Spain and Ciafilu have been the ones kind of that has solidified the guard positions for us.
Yeah,
And it doesn't matter
so
how we move the tackles around. They've been kind of, I think, the stabilizing force to this line over the last
I
few games.
agree. I agree, and we've been moving things around, and that's, if you're watching, I mean, this is the key to our success so far. In the last 2 weeks, the offensive line has played really, really admirably.
Right. And we've
Um,
also gotten rid of the ball quickly, and we've also been finding ways to get it to Gio where we're not just handing it to him. We were able
of
to do that
course.
against the Steelers, who a lot of people have run on the Steelers. But like I said, we're going to
Of course.
see
Well, you know
because
what? You know what? You can run on the Ravens too.
I know.
The Ravens are not the typically the typical AFC North prototype either. The same way the Steelers aren't. All of a sudden, you can run the ball in this division, which for years you just couldn't. Like if you
Right.
got 80 yards rushing, like you were ahead of the game.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. I watched Ace Boogie did a show with a Ravens guy that I guess he does another Northerner show, you know, AFC North show with, and this guy from the Ravens was very, you know, critical of his own team. He said, you know, we don't have this shutdown defense that you know, we've shown spells, but he acknowledged the fact that this isn't as dominating a defense as the Ravens have had in the past. So,
Right. Yeah.
so
And I agree. I mean, I think the only thing we're dealing with right now is you've got, the reigning MVP, in his last 4 games, he's got over 100 rating in every single game. He's passed for 696 in four
right.
games. Six 696 in 4 games, not very impressive.
No,
Eight touchdowns, 2 interceptions. However, he's rushed for 333
no,
yards.
that's the thing, and that's another thing that's good.
333
Right.
yards in 4 games. So let's put it together. As you got 696
It's
and
1,000 yards. He's good, you know.
333. Yeah, you're at
He's getting his 250. He's getting his
1,000.
250 a game.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
you're getting plenty, and they're clicking on cylinders at the right time. And Hollywood Brown always beats us, which is a problem, which is funny because he doesn't beat really anybody else.
no,
Um,
I have him on fantasy, and he's been very disappointing. Although I have started in the last few weeks, and he has come through with late scores, but he's got drops. He's got a lot of issues. I only start him when you know I have to start him,
right.
not
I
because I
mean,
want to start him.
you got him, and J.K. Dobbins is come around as he's going to be
He's going to be a
just
problem too because he's a
he's
fast
going to be a
little
problem. He's going to be a problem for us for years.
right.
He's going to be really, really good.
Well, he's that
He's already really good, but he's gonna be a major problem for us for years to come.
yeah. So, and I don't see it. Didn't look like Logan Wilson practiced today. So, of all the people on the injury report,
He did not, which is a surprise because I think he did practice earlier in the week.
wait, I've got the
So
report here.
they didn't say it was a rest day today, but I was a little surprised that he didn't.
No, he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. So,
Well, Boyd was in there after his concussion.
limited. Now, is he out of concussion protocol?
Well, they listed him as limited,
Right.
so I would assume he was doing drills on the sidelines
Right.
and probably has to pass one more test. But I would assume that he'll be back out there
Yeah.
on
William
Sunday.
Jackson was out both days. So, with
William
concussion,
Jackson, I would not expect to play.
I wouldn't either. Yeah.
Good riddance to bad rubbish.
Okay. Yeah. No, you've expressed your feelings about it. You've made no, it's not like, gee, Sam, how do you feel? So, but, all right. Well, with that said, give me a prediction.
You know what? We say this every week, Mark. We always tell everybody, if you want Homer stuff, go somewhere else. We keep it real. We keep it honest. We call it as we see it.
Right.
That said, I'm going to go Homer this week.
Okay.
For the last week of the 2020 or the first week of the 2021 season, I'm going to say that the Bengals pull this out once again, knock the Ravens out of the playoffs, get the Colts in because the Browns will have already beat the Steelers. Bengals 27, Ravens 24.
Okay. Now I'm going to kind of have my cake and eat it too. And I don't know if this is this is how I want it to be, because we have a good showing, but we don't win the game. But it's close enough to where I don't believe in moral victories, but we don't have anything to hang our heads about. I won't call that a moral victory. But they play well. And because I just when we pulled out the win, we had a seasoned quarterback in Andy Dalton. Okay, we don't have that here, so we haven't had to see Brandon Allen drive us down when we're chasing six. With 35 seconds on the clock. I don't know that we've got a quarterback who can do that. Well, you can dink and dunk all day long, but you'll need to make it, passes. I don't know that we're able to pull that out. So I'm going to go Ravens 29, and I've got a lot of field goals in there because they have the consummate.
16.
They have Justin Tucker, man. Who you get to the 40, you're in Justin Tucker range. It's that simple. But I'm going to go 29-23. That it's a close game and we are respectable. And I'm giving more points to our offense now because I've seen Brandon Allen taking steps the last couple of weeks, and I think
I think it's worth mentioning that Sam Koch, the Ravens punter, went on the COVID-19 list. They don't know if he'll be active at all.
Right.
And they did not add anybody, primarily because Justin Tucker, who is, we all agree, whether we hate him or not,
I don't hate
we
him.
all agree he's an amazing kicker.
No.
In college, he kicked the ball 155 times as a punter.
Yeah.
And had a 40.5-yard average.
He can punt if you need it. And you know what? Harbaugh will go for it more.
How great is that to be like, well, I got a guy. If I needed a guy, I got a guy. I don't need to add somebody.
Right.
I do want to mention two more things. I know we just gave our predictions, and that's usually the end, but this is worth mentioning. This is a very, very big game for the Cincinnati Bengals, not in the matchup, but in players that are on the roster. AJ Green needs one touchdown to tie Ocho Cinco,
right,
for the all-time touchdown record in Cincinnati.
Right.
And if they don't try to force the ball to him, then they're doing it wrong. So I think they will. The problem is, I think the Ravens know they will too.
Right.
So they'll do everything. They'll put two guys on him,
right,
to make sure it doesn't happen. But if you're a Bengals fan, if you got a AJ Green jersey, man, wear it on Sunday, because we don't know if he's coming back, and it's probably not. The other one I'll say is Geno Atkins. The guy is third all time on the sack list for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's got 75.5 sacks. Came into the league the same time as Carlos Dunlap, who has 81.5.
Right.
I mean, they're right there. They were Batman and Robin, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And Dunlap, of course, is in Seattle. They both trail Eddie Edwards, the classic.
Right.
For the most sacks, and they'll never beat him. I don't think anybody ever will.
No.
But this is the weekend, when you have a losing team, you can you can hope for wins all you want, but always appreciate what you have. And, we would love to have AJ back. We'd love to have Geno back. As a business decision, probably not going to happen.
Unless they want to, they have this dream about staying here and they're willing to do like super friendly, team friendly deals. But otherwise, we have to spend the money elsewhere. We just don't have a choice.
Of course. And that's what I mean. It's a business decision. So if you're a fan of either one of those players, man, put that jersey on, watch this game on Sunday, scream Geno, scream AJ all day long, and whatever happens, just enjoy it.
Yeah. And the one thing I wanted to throw out was I wanted to actually wish Andy Dalton good luck in the game against the Giants, because if Dallas wins, the winner of that game will be the NFC East representative if Philly beats Washington in the nighttime game. So I would like to see the Cowboys win. And you know what? If Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts can upset Washington, because we don't know if Alex Smith is going to be playing, and Dwayne Haskins was rightfully shown the door. So that's yeah, exactly. And let's see. It's possible. I'd like to see Andy get to playoffs with the Cowboys, and so why not? I never wish ill will. I know you had your thing on Dunlap. I'm watching Seattle, and I'm rooting for Dunlap. I just am. So, it's hard for me. You have to do something, vile to the team, and I don't. Like I said, I know there was issues that went down, but I don't wish. I look at all the good things that Dunlap did. I focus on that. When you look at the whole body of work, it's not. And the same thing with Andy Dalton. Yeah, Andy Dalton did not win a playoff game for us. He did not. He got us to 5 straight playoffs, which had never been done, but he wasn't able to make. But I don't wish him any ill will. I want to see him prosper, especially in the other league. So and he might wind up on the Patriots this year.
I do not
Cam
feel
looks so bad.
What's
that?
I
know
you
don't
feel the same about Carlos Dunlap.
I know, but
Carlos Dunlap and Andy Dalton are 2 different people.
I got it. I understand, but I'm just like I said. So I think it reflects good on us when players that we had for a long time, excel. I just don't think that looks bad on us. So
and they excelled for us.
They excelled for us. The fact that you have Dunlap down there with more sacks than Geno Atkins. That tells you
they made us. Well, I mean, he's edge. Geno's defensive.
I understand,
tackles.
But I'm just saying he's
77.5 sacks for a defensive tackle is
a lot. Outrageous. I get it. No,
it's outrageous. But Mark, I'm sorry. I digress. I agree with you 100%. 100%. I like guys that I recognize people that have done what they have done for us and made us what we are. And Dunlap was that guy. Geno was that guy. AJ was that guy.
Right.
Andy Dalton was that guy. Right. They made us, not a laughing stock.
Right. No, we were relevant. Those teams were relevant for 5 straight years. We were in the postseason, and every year ESPN does their who's in, who's out of the postseason, and every single year they had the Bengals. The Bengals never make it 2 years in a row, so the Bengals made it 2 years in a row. So then the next year, well, they made it 2 years in a row, but they're not going to make it this year, and they made it 3
again,
and they made it 4. So it's like they always had us saying, "Oh, well, they're out," but needless to say, we did go 5 straight years, which had never been done. That hadn't been done under Boomer Esiason. It had been done under Kenny Anderson. So
we're the team they love to hate.
Yeah, well,
and you know what? Honestly, Mark, I wouldn't have it any other way.
You know what? That's why we do these shows.
I'll shoulder that all day long.
Yeah, not a problem. That's the chip, baby. It's right there. See it? So all right. Well, with that, we will be back with our season finale recap right after the game on Sunday. And I want everybody, once again, it is New Year's Eve, so everybody have a happy, healthy New Year's Eve, and we will be back at you on Sunday. And with that, I'm going to say, hoo-day, everybody.
Hoo-day, this is our year.
Take care.